So now we've looked at adding a sign up handler. Now let's handle user login. So we'll go to the login screen. And then at the top here, we'll also add a handle login method. So we're going to say future void underscore handle login. And then we'll take in a build context. That'll be asynchronous. And then we'll call it again from the bottom whenever the user clicks on login. So here we will call score handle login, pass in the context. So again, first thing we need to validate the input. So we're going to say if underscore form key dot current state is not equals to null, and underscore form key dot current state dot validate. We want to make sure all the input is valid. Then we're going to perform the action that we want to perform. So if we test this, if we click on this and then the data is empty, you can see this, it says invalid input, and then field must have at least 6 characters. So let's look at what we're going to add inside. So we're going to also wrap it in a try catch block. And then if an error does occur, we'll show an OK alert dialog, take in the context, and then a title, which will say sign in failed. And then the message will be please try again. And similarly, we're going to use the auth package. So we're going to say final underscore auth equals to firebase auth dot instance. And then we're going to use it here. So we're going to say underscore auth dot sign in with email and password, and then the email will be from underscore email controller dot text dot trim, and then the password will be from the password controller dot text. Now this is also asynchronous and we want to wait for it, so we're going to call await. So this is all we need in the login field. So essentially what this will do is it will add the user object into the global state that we talked about before. And essentially what we want to do right now is just react to this global auth state. So whenever the authentication state of the application changes, we want something to happen. Now we're going to look at how to do that. So we need to add a stream builder in the main.dart file. So we're going to go to main.dart. And then here, instead of initial route, we're going to change this to be home. And then we're going to add a stream builder. And I'm going to explain exactly why we need to do this, and you'll see as we go. And then this stream builder will give us the user object, and it's going to be nullable. So the question mark says that this is an optional, so this value either could be a user object or null. As an example, when the user opens the app at the beginning, this will be called, right? Now the user hasn't signed up or signed in at all, so the user object will be null. And then we need to show the certain UI that we want to show when the user is null, and we need to show a different UI when the user is not null, so the user is already signed in. So as an example, if the user is null, we want to show the login screen. If the user is not null, so the user is already signed in, we want to directly go to the chat screen. So here the stream builder takes in two main properties. So we have the stream and the builder. The builder is a function which takes in a context and a snapshot. And then the stream, we're going to use a stream from the Firebase auth library. So we're going to say Firebase auth dot instance dot auth state changes. Now the best part about this is that if the auth state changes at any point in time of the application, this will be called again. Now let's look at what we need to add inside. So we can check the connection state of the snapshot. We can say if snapshot dot connection state equals to connection state dot waiting. So if we're still waiting for a result, we're going to do something. So usually we show a loading indicator. Else we're going to check a few things. if snapshot dot has data. So if the snapshot does return a user, so the user is not equals to null, now we need to also check if the user has their email verified. So we're going to say snapshot dot data dot email verified. So snapshot dot data is essentially the user object. And if snapshot dot has data, that means the user is not equals to null. So we can use the exclamation mark to say, hey, we're 100% sure that the user is not equals to null because we did this check at the beginning. And then we're going to check if the email verified property is set to true or not. If it is set to true, here we're going to probably go to the chat screen. So go to chat screen. Next, let's check if there is an error. So we're going to say if snapshot dot has error. We should probably display error message. And then otherwise, we're going to return the login screen. So basically what we'll do here is if the state is waiting, we are going to stay here. Else, if snapshot does have data, we're going to go to the chat screen. But let's say the snapshot does not have data. So that means we're not going to go in this block. And then we have two options. Either there's an error or there's no error. If there's an error, we're going to go here and we're going to return an error message. But if there is no error, we're going to continue here. And then we're going to render the login screen. So let's start off with the waiting state. So here we're going to say return const scaffold and then pass in a body be center, and then the child will be a circular progress indicator with the color to be K dark gray, to be background color K purple color. Now, if the email is verified, we're going to return a chat screen, so we'll do that in a bit. And then if the error does occur, we're going to say return const scaffold, and then background color will also be K purple color, and then the body will be center, child will be a text widget. It says an error occurred. Let's add this. Let's also add some styling on the text. So we're going to say style, the text style, and then color will be K dark gray. Cool, so now we handled the error state, we handled the waiting state. Now let's look at when the user is available to us and we want to go to the chat screen. So here we're going to call return chat screen, and then we want to pass in the user. So we're going to say user is equals to snapshot.data. Now the chat screen is not available to us yet, so we need to create it. So under screens, we'll create a new file, then we'll call it chat_screen.dart. And then we'll create a stateless widget. So we're going to say stl, and then call it chat screen. We also need to import the material package. And then let's change this to a scaffold. And then make this a const. Let's go back here, and then we need to import the chat screen. Let me just add a copy. Now we also need to make sure that the chat screen accepts a user object. So in the chat screen, at the top here, we're going to say final user, and in the constructor, we're going to say this.user, and then make this required. So you cannot create a chat screen without the user object. And the user object is coming from Firebase auth, so we need to import the Firebase auth package. So let's test this. So here I'll type in my email. Password, and then login. So as you can see, we navigated to the chat screen. If this doesn't work for you right away, try refreshing the application. So this is what the design will look like, and we'll look at the different components. So at the top we have an app bar. This app bar has a text widget as the title, and then it also has an action item. This will be a button. Whenever you click it, you're going to log out from the application. Next, the messages will be displayed in a list view. Every list item will essentially be a message, and we're going to put it in a row, so that way we can align the message based on whether you're the one that sent the message or someone else. So as you can see here, when I sent the message is aligned to the right. You can also see that the background color is pink or purple, and then on the left hand side you have when my friend sent the message, it appeared in this light gray color, and then it's aligned to the left hand side. Now at the bottom you can also see that we also have a row widget, and this row widget has two widgets inside, the text form field and the send button. So when the user wants to type a message, they'll type it in the text box at the bottom, and then they will click send, and then the message will be added to the database and then displayed in real time in the list view. So let's look at how to build all of that. So let's go under scaffold, and we'll start off by adding a background color, and we'll make it K dark gray. Next, let's configure the app bar. So we'll say app bar and then make an app bar widget. And then we'll give it a background color of K purple color. Now, once we add this, we need to remove the const here. We also need to make the center title property to be true. So that way, even on Android devices, the title will be centered. And then for the title, we're gonna add a text widget. So const text, and it's gonna say Chatly. Now let's also change the font by changing the text style. So we're gonna say style, text style, and then give it a font family of VT323. And then the font size will be 32, and then the color will be K dark gray. Next, let's add the sign out button. So still under app bar, we want to give an actions property, and then we're going to say icon button, and it's going to have an onPressed callback. So let's make an empty callback for now. And then for the icon, we're going to say const icon, and then give it icons.logout. And then the color will be K dark gray. Now let's make it that when we click on this, the user will sign out. So inside of the sign out function, we're going to make a try catch block. And if an error does occur, we're going to say show OK alert dialog. Then we're going to make the title to be sign out failed. Let's also make it capitalized. And then the message will be please try again. Now inside of the try block, all we have to do is underscore auth dot sign out. Now this object is still not available to us, so let's add it here. So we're going to say final underscore auth equals to firebase auth dot instance. We need to remove this const here. So that way when we click on this, the application will sign out, and then I'm going to sign in again quickly. Cool. Now next step is let's look at what's going to be inside of this body. So we said we're going to have a list view, and then at the bottom we'll have a text form field and a send button. So here we're going to go under inside of scaffold under app bar, and then we're going to say body, and then we're going to make a safe area widget. So safe area widget makes sure that we don't have anything that's appearing behind the status bar at the top, but also at the bottom here where you can see in iOS we have this bar right here. We don't want anything to be behind this as well. And for the child, we're going to add a column, and then we'll add some children, And essentially what we need to add is one child for the list view, and then one child which is going to be the row at the bottom with the text form field and the send button. So we will create the list view here, but we'll change this in the future. But now let's also wrap this in an expanded widget. And what this will do is expand this widget to take as much space as it can on the screen. And that way the list view will take as much space as it can and then push everything else at the bottom. And at the bottom we'll add a row, and then we'll add some children. So the row will have the text form field. So we'll have a text form field widget. And then the second widget will be the button, so it'll be icon button. And then the icon will be icons.send, with the color being colors.gray 400. Now the icon button also needs an unpressed handler, so we're going to say unpressed, and then we're going to call a function called _handle send message, which is also going to need the context. Now we need to create this, so let's go at the top. I'm actually going to copy this and then go at the top and then add that here, and let's just add void at the beginning and make it take a build context and then context right here. We'll change this later on. Now let's actually add some styling to the text form field. So here we're going to say style text style be colors.gray 400, and then the cursor color will be purple color, and then max lines will be 5, min lines will be 1, and I'll show you why we need to add these two. And then text capitalization will be text capitalization, and then let's make it dot sentences. So basically the first character will be capitalized. Now the text form field needs to also expand and take as much space as it can, so let's wrap this with an expanded widget. And now you can see that it appeared, so you have the text form field on the left hand side, and it's taking as much space as it can, and then it's pushing the send button on the right hand side. Now you can see that the text form field doesn't have any padding, and it's just stuck at the bottom with this border line. So let's remove that. So we'll go in row, and then let's wrap the row in a container. And then in the container we're going to say color to be K light gray, and then constraints be box constraints, give it max height to be 300, and then min height to be 70, and then consts. So now we have a bit of space. Now let's also remove this border line. So in the text form field we are going to add decoration, and then we're going to say input decoration, and then first thing we're going to add a content padding. So we'll say const edge insets dot all, and then pass in 16. Since we added this const here, we can remove the const at the bottom, because anything that's nested within a constant is a constant. Now let's add a fill color to be K light gray, and then make the filled property to be true. And then the border, we want to remove it, so we're going to say input border dot none, hint text to be add text, and then let's add the hint style so people can actually see it. So we're going to say text style, give it color to be colors.gray, then 400. So this is a dynamic property, so it's not a constant, so that means that we need to remove this. And once we remove this, we might want to add the constant for the content padding. Now, as you can see here, you can see that the text field looks much better now. There's no border at the bottom. We can clearly see the hint text and the text that we're typing. And you can see that the cursor color is a purple color. Now, as you can see here, when I click anywhere, the keyboard does not dismiss. So let's quickly fix that and wrap the scaffold here with a keyboard dismisser. Keyboard dismisser. Now let me quickly show you why we need this max lines 5 and min lines 1. So if we just put nothing here, right? So it's just going to default to one line. So if I keep typing something here, it's going to stay one line. But if I add these two properties, now if I keep typing, we're going to go to second line, third line, and so on. Now if it surpasses 5 lines, it's just going to be scrollable, which is really nice.